down.
Get out, man. Come on, man.
Sit
What
down.
you mean, man?
Stay down.
No, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man.
Judge.
No, the Pope took my plea back, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man. Get me out of here.
And I gotta tell you, it doesn't get much worse than this kind of stuff. You called her after you were in jail?
Because I was told by the detective I was allowed to.
Okay.
I didn't call her, I called my wife and she answered it.
A stepfather, a broken trust, a courtroom about to explode. What you just witnessed in those 30 seconds represents the complete collapse of a man who thought he could manipulate his way out of justice. But here's what that preview couldn't show you: the psychological chess game that led to this moment of pure rage. This isn't just about a serious offense. This is about someone who continued his manipulation from behind bars, guilt-tripping the person he had already harmed about her struggles. The defendant you saw breaking down, he spent months trying to convince her that his freedom was more important than her healing. The judge calling it the worst case he's seen, the prosecutor revealing jail calls that will make your skin crawl, the explosive meltdown when justice finally arrives. Every piece builds to a conclusion that will leave you questioning everything you think you know about remorse, manipulation, and whether some people can ever truly change.
This was a heinous crime, Judge. This was horrible in a lot of ways, but most importantly, because this was a minor child who almost assuredly didn't fully understand what was going on with somebody whom was entrusted to love her and to protect her. However, Your Honor, this is not indicative of who Mr. Welk is as a person. Yes, he has a record. Yes, he has been to prison, but it's mainly in the past been for drug offenses, I believe some theft offenses, nothing of this magnitude. On this day, and this is not an excuse, Judge, for his behavior, but on this day, Mr. Welk was drinking a lot, was highly intoxicated.
Wait, stop. Did you catch what just happened here? The defense attorney just called this a heinous crime against a minor child who didn't understand what was happening. But here's the contradiction nobody's talking about. In the same breath, he's asking for leniency. Listen to how he phrases this. This is not indicative of who Mr. Welk is as a person. Really? Because manipulating a child you're supposed to protect sounds exactly like who someone is as a person. Notice the language pattern here. Yes, he has a record. Yes, he's been to prison. But that word "but" just erased everything that came before it. Here's what 99% of people missed in that speech. He says Welk was drinking a lot and highly intoxicated. But watch how quickly he backtracks. This is not an excuse. If it's not an excuse, why bring it up? That's manipulation 101. The defense wants you to believe this was a one-time alcohol-fueled mistake. But here's the forbidden knowledge. Predators don't just stumble into child abuse because they had too many drinks. They create opportunities. They build trust. They exploit vulnerability. And as you're about to see, this defendant's behavior after his arrest will prove this wasn't a drunken mistake. It was a calculated pattern.
First and foremost, I'd like to apologize to the courts for appearing before them today. I'd like to apologize to the victim in this case. I'm not going to use alcohol or drugs as an excuse for anything. However, alcohol was a main factor in this case. But I take full responsibility for my actions because I chose to make the irresponsible decision consuming too much alcohol than I could handle, causing poor, regretful choices leading to my incarceration. I've read the police reports and feel ashamed, embarrassed, and hurt because that's not the person I am. And I wouldn't be standing here today if I would have just been more responsible. I have 4 younger children that I've let down because of being locked away from them, missing out on watching them grow. Having to deal with that is a heartache alone. The only thing I can do now is work on myself while incarcerated, take advantage of all programs they offer, and become a better man and a better father, and not give up doing so. I have to make this my last time in jail, and I plan to. I'm sincerely remorseful to my victim in this case, letting her down when I was supposed to be a father figure in her life. I beat myself up over this every day. Over this, wishing I could take it all back. I just hope she can grow up in life and leave this in the past, and that it doesn't affect her future. Again, I'm sorry to everyone I caused pain to in this case.
lawinselession.
Here's what the defendant's apology reveals about the psychology of manipulation. Notice how he structured this speech. I apologize to the courts. I apologize to the victim. But listen to what comes next. Everything becomes about him. His shame, his embarrassment, his 4 other children, his heartache. This is textbook narcissistic deflection. He's turning himself into the victim of his own crime. I beat myself up every day over this. Really? Because what we're about to see suggests he was too busy making jail calls to be beating himself up about anything. Here's the forbidden knowledge about predator psychology. They're master manipulators who believe their own lies. When he says, "That's not the person I am," he genuinely believes it. In his mind, he's the victim of circumstances, not the perpetrator of a heinous crime against a child. But here's where his performance falls apart. He talks about making amends and being remorseful, but the prosecutor is about to reveal something that will shatter this entire narrative. While this man was giving speeches about regret and rehabilitation, he was actively manipulating his victim from jail. He was guilt-tripping a child about her suicide attempt. He was pressuring her to ask for a lighter sentence. That's not remorse, that's continued predation. And the judge is about to expose exactly how calculated this man's manipulation really is.
Thank you, Your Honor. One thing that the defendant said today in court, and even in his pre-sentence report, that stood out to me is that he was supposed to be a loving and caring father. And I couldn't agree more with that. He should have been someone that the victim could trust and rely on for protection and guidance. And instead, he used his role as a parental figure to manipulate her, exploit her, and violate her. And while there is a jointly recommended sentence here, the state believes it's essential to highlight not only what the defendant did pre-indictment, but also what he did after his arrest in this case. While incarcerated, he continued to communicate with the victim while in the Lake County Jail. He attempted to guilt and manipulate her by blaming her for her own suicide attempt at the East Lake Jail. He pressured her to express her feelings to law enforcement about him, or her desire for him to only receive a short sentence. He spoke of wanting to attend counseling together. He emphasized they were a team and told her he loved her, despite being her abuser, despite doing what he did here. And during several of these recorded calls, you can hear the victim crying, further illustrating just the ongoing emotional harm caused by the defendant and his conduct. This behavior demonstrates his continued disregard for the well-being of the victim, his family, and his ongoing efforts to control her and manipulate her. The defendant today in court said he's remorseful, but in the pre-sentence report...
Wait, rewind that. Did you catch the defendant's response when the judge confronted him about those jail calls? I was told by the detective I was allowed to. That's his defense? That someone gave him permission to traumatize his victim? Here's what just happened. The judge, someone with decades of experience dealing with criminals, just called this defendant out for being experienced enough in the system to have the wisdom that you shouldn't have been contacting her. This isn't some first-time offender who didn't know better. This is a career criminal who knew exactly what he was doing. Pattern interrupt time. Notice how his story keeps changing? First it was alcohol, then it was permission from a detective. Now he's claiming he called his wife, not the victim directly. But here's what he's not saying. Why did he need to talk to a traumatized child at all? Even the judge didn't see this level of manipulation coming. You can hear the frustration building in his voice. This defendant had every opportunity to show genuine remorse by staying away from his victim. Instead, he used every opportunity to continue his psychological manipulation. And here's the kicker. Remember that preview moment where the judge says, "It doesn't get much worse than this"? We're about to reach that breaking point, because what you're witnessing isn't just a criminal case. It's a masterclass in how predators operate even from behind bars.
So did you or didn't you do this stuff?
Yes.
Okay. And I gotta tell you, it doesn't get much worse than this kind of stuff.
I understand.
The judge is about to make a decision that will shock everyone in that courtroom. But first, let me explain what just happened. When he asked, "Did you or didn't you do this stuff?" that wasn't really a question. That was a test. A test the defendant just failed spectacularly. Here's the context everyone missed. The defense and prosecution agreed on 8 years. Joint recommendations usually get approved because both sides found middle ground. But this judge, he's been watching this defendant's manipulation tactics, and everything they've worked for is about to crumble. You can feel the tension building. The judge's voice is getting sharper. His questions are getting more direct. He's done playing games with a man who refuses to take accountability. It doesn't get much worse than this kind of stuff. Those aren't just words. That's a judge reaching his breaking point. Everything hangs on this moment. The defendant thinks he's getting 8 years because of that joint recommendation. His lawyer probably assured him it was a done deal. But this judge has heard enough lies, seen enough manipulation, and witnessed enough disrespect for the victim to make his own decision. Remember that explosive breakdown from our preview? The screaming, the profanity, the complete meltdown? It's coming. And when you see the full context, you'll understand why a man who thought he had manipulated his way to a lighter sentence completely loses his mind when real justice arrives.
All that on count 5, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 60 months. On count 6, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 60 months that will be consecutive to one another with credit for 143 days. Consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you and for appropriate punishment.
Get out, man. Come on, man. What the fuck you mean, man?
Stay down.
No, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man. You fucking took my plea back, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, man. Get me out of here, man.
Almost done, Judge.
Get me the fuck out of here. No, man. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, man. What the fuck you mean, nigga? Get me the fuck out of here. Man, get me the fuck out of here, nigga. Let me get my leg. Get me out of here, man.
Just take him in the chair. Okay, we're in this chair.
All right.
Listen to the more.
Put me on your visiting list for jail and for.
All right, man. Stop touching me, man. I'm not doing this, man. I'm not doing this. I'm not.
Justice served. 10 years instead of 8. And that explosive meltdown, that wasn't remorse. That was rage at getting caught. This case just proved something terrifying about how predators operate in our justice system. This man had every advantage. A joint recommendation from both sides. A defense attorney fighting for leniency. Opportunities to show genuine remorse. Instead, he used every moment to continue manipulating his victim from jail. The calls, the guilt tripping, the pressure for a light sentence, pure predator behavior. Here's the debate that's going to haunt you. Team 1 says the judge was right to ignore the joint recommendation because continued manipulation proved this man was unredeemable. Team 2 argues that judges should honor agreements between prosecutors and defense attorneys, regardless of personal feelings. But here's what everyone agrees on. Those jail calls revealed this defendant's true character. When he thought nobody was listening, he showed exactly who he really was. A manipulator, a predator, someone who would traumatize a child even from behind bars. The victim in this case will carry these scars forever, but at least she got to see her abuser finally face consequences he couldn't manipulate his way out of. Sometimes the system works. Hit the bell because cases like this are breaking more often than you think. Tomorrow's courtroom drama involves a mother who did the unthinkable to protect her family's reputation. The evidence will shock you, but the verdict? Nobody saw that coming.